Picture this: a dark street corner, an undercover cop, and a suspicious exchange. Tonight on the Case Files, we're cracking open a story where one hidden item tipped the scales of justice all the way to the Supreme Court.
I'm Hannah, your co-host, and joining me is attorney JFM, your dedicated legal voice for making the law simple and justice accessible. He spent years untangling legal mysteries for everyday people, and together, we're diving deep into a case that blurs the line between personal privacy and the power of law enforcement.
Thanks, Hannah. Tonight, we'll walk you through a real case involving a buy-bust operation, a mysterious cell phone charger, and a ruling by Justice Ricardo Rosario that set new limits on police searches.
By the end, you'll know exactly how the Plainview Doctrine works, why a warrantless search can sometimes be legal, and how a small detail can decide a person's fate. And don't worry, we'll break down all the jargon, step by step.
Let's set the scene and figure out how and what looks like an open and shut case can suddenly get complicated.
It all starts with a classic buy-bust setup. The officer pretends to be a buyer, approaches Gerald Bautista, and hands him 500 pesos in marked bills.
Right as the swap happens, other officers swoop in, and they're not alone. A Department of Justice representative and some barangay officials show up almost immediately, making it look like a textbook police operation.
At first, it seems like there's no question. They've caught Bautista mid-deal, and they have the marked money and one sachet of shabu on him.
But during the pat-down, an odd twist. They find a cell phone charger. It could be nothing, or it could be the heart of a legal battle. And this is where things get interesting.
When the officer opens the charger, he finds 3 more sachets of shabu stashed inside. But that discovery raises a huge question. Did the police have the right to look inside in the first place?
That's what Bautista's defense immediately seized on. They argued those extra sachets shouldn't count because they weren't in plain view. After all, the drugs were hidden inside an everyday object.
The defense leaned hard on the Plainview Doctrine. Police must see the contraband clearly, not go searching for it inside closed containers without a warrant.
It's a defense that often works if the item is truly hidden. But this case would test how far those privacy protections go, especially when someone's just been caught red-handed.
Here's where the Supreme Court shook things up. Instead of siding with the defense on Plainview, they looked at something even bigger: warrantless search incident to a lawful arrest.
They broke it down. The search must happen right after a valid arrest, be limited to the person and their immediate stuff, and be done where the arrest takes place. It's a strict rulebook, but a powerful one.
Because Bautista was already under arrest for selling drugs, police had the right to search anything he was carrying. The charger was in his pocket, so it was fair game even if nothing was visible from the outside.
The court basically said, plain view doesn't matter here. The search was legal under a different doctrine. That single detail completely changed the stakes.
But there's more to a conviction than just finding drugs. The prosecution had to prove that Bautista knowingly possessed those extra sachets. Intent matters, not just proximity.
Exactly. They had to show he controlled the drugs, didn't have legal permission, and knew what he had. The way the sachets were tucked inside the charger was key. It suggested he absolutely knew they were there.
He couldn't explain away the drugs, and he had no permit. The hiding spot itself was like a silent confession. The Supreme Court called it out as proof of intent.
That's how the court connected the dots. Sometimes, the smallest details, like where you hide something, end up being the strongest evidence.
Bautista ended up with 16 years in prison and a hefty fine. It's a heavy outcome, and it all hinged on the split-second decisions during that search.
What's striking is how a legal nuance, the difference between plain view and a lawful search after arrest, can decide someone's future.
I keep thinking, if the police had found that charger on a table nearby instead of on him, would the outcome have changed? Without a search incident to arrest, they'd probably need a warrant to open it.
That's a great point, Hannah. The law draws sharp lines. What's within your reach at the moment of arrest is fair game, but anything farther away needs a different legal justification.
Let's wrap up. First, small details like where something is hidden can be the difference between guilt and innocence.
Second, the plain view doctrine isn't the only rule. Searches incident to arrest give police real but limited power to search what you're carrying.
And third, intent matters. The prosecution has to prove not just possession, but knowledge and control, especially for drugs found in unusual hiding spots.
Here's your action step. Know your rights during searches. If you're ever stopped or arrested, pay close attention to what officers search and when those moments could be critical.
Thanks for listening to the Case Files. If today's episode helped you learn something new, please like, share, and subscribe. Let's keep making the law accessible to everyone.
And remember, this podcast is for general information only. Always consult a legal professional with your specific concerns. I'm Attorney JFM. Stay informed, stay wise, and we'll see you on the next Case File.